Who are you?
You held a gun to my wife's head. She was terrified.
This is a joke, I don't get it.
It's not a joke.
Our story opens with Charlie, a brilliant CIA analyst, working in his garage on the small airplane his wife Sarah had lovingly given him for his birthday. Just then, Sarah walks in and lets him know she needs to leave soon for London for an important business conference. She warmly invites Charlie to join her, but buried in work, he politely turns her down, saying he simply has too much going on. A little later, Charlie arrives at CIA headquarters. On his way in, he passes through the advanced security scanners he personally designed, then heads to his department and settles back into work. Moments later, he gets a message from a mysterious figure known as Inquilin, someone he's been secretly in contact with for years. As always, the stranger offers to sell highly classified information, but this time he adds a warning that the documents could trigger a massive crisis for the CIA. Charlie tries to pin down his location and guesses Istanbul, but the man quickly dodges the question. Right after that, Charlie starts decrypting the files. Surprisingly, even his extraordinary intelligence isn't enough to crack it open right away. After lunch, he returns to his desk and keeps working. During this time, Sarah calls to tell him she's landed safely in London.
I'm just calling to let you know I'm here.
Right, I know I tracked you.
Charlie already knows this, though, because he's been tracking her location the whole time. Their call doesn't last long, since Charlie stays completely absorbed in the mysterious files. When every attempt to break the code comes up empty, he takes his computer into a highly restricted section equipped with an advanced classified system. After hours of relentless effort, the files finally open, and the shocking truth inside leaves him completely stunned. Secret government documents reveal that a deadly drone strike had been deliberately disguised as a suicide bombing. News footage reports that 150 people were killed in the incident, including members of the French Special Forces and Danish Marines. The most shocking revelation of all is that the entire operation was authorized by Chief Moore, who happens to be Charlie's own boss. That night, after returning home, Charlie tries calling Sarah, but she doesn't pick up. With no other option, he leaves her a heartfelt voicemail. The next morning, the moment Charlie reaches the office, he finds Moore waiting for him. Moore immediately walks him to the office of the new director, O'Brien. There, O'Brien tells him a terrorist attack has taken place at a hotel in London, and that Sarah was one of the victims. Charlie refuses to believe what he's hearing. He desperately tries calling Sarah, but Moore turns on the television and shows him live news coverage instead. The reporter explains that 4 terrorists stormed the hotel, took 4 people hostage, and brutally murdered 2 of them. Moore then plays the hotel's security footage, and the horrifying chaos of the attack is clearly visible. The footage also confirms that Sarah was among those who lost their lives. When Charlie finally makes it home, he's completely devastated. Dozens of reporters are already gathered outside his house trying to get an interview, while police struggle to keep them under control. At that moment, one of his friends steps in to help, quietly guiding Charlie inside without making him face the overwhelming media crowd. The very next day, Charlie goes straight to Moore and his supervisor, Caleb. He has serious doubts about the whole incident. In his view, a city like London, blanketed with thousands of security cameras, should never let terrorists vanish so easily. On top of that, they escaped through heavy traffic and somehow no one managed to catch them. Moore assures him the investigation is still ongoing, but Caleb tells him to go home and rest before sending him away. The following day, Charlie goes to the airport where Sarah's body and belongings have been brought back. After returning home, he opens her suitcase and finds a special gift she had secretly bought for him. The sight completely shatters him, and the memories of Sarah hit him so hard he can no longer hold back his tears. Sitting alone in the house becomes unbearable, so he decides to head back to the office. There, he secretly uses a restricted computer system to hack into the hotel's surveillance network along with the nearby street cameras. After hours of relentless work, he pieces together the full timeline of the attack and presents it to his senior officials. The investigation reveals that the 4 terrorists had stolen a vehicle from the eastern part of the city. They then entered the hotel through the service entrance and carried out the operation so cleanly that they left behind no fingerprints or trace of DNA. They were supposed to meet with representatives from an Indonesian company called Impact Investments, but for some reason the discussion turned into a heated argument. The situation got even worse when one of the company's security guards lost his temper. In response, one of the terrorists opened fire, killing a guard on the spot and seriously injuring another. The instant the gunshots rang out, the hotel's security team went on high alert and immediately called the police. Now needing a way out without getting caught, the terrorists forced their way into a conference room and took everyone inside hostage. Sarah became one of those hostages because she had been trying to help several employees escape safely. That single act of bravery is what made her a target. Using his advanced technology, Charlie activates a sophisticated voice and facial recognition system. After extensive analysis, he successfully identifies all 4 terrorists. They are Mishka from Moscow, Lawrence, a former South African Special Forces operative, a mercenary named Horst, and a former intelligence officer named Gretchen. But the most shocking moment comes when Charlie presents all this to Moore and Caleb, and neither one shows the slightest sign of surprise. In that instant, Charlie realizes they already knew. They calmly tell him the case has been under investigation for quite some time, then send him away, suggesting he see a therapist instead. The next day, Charlie secretly hides a tiny chip inside his ID badge, and remarkably, the security scanners fail to detect it. Once at the office, he prints several classified documents and rigs a skimmer device to the printer, letting him create digital copies of every file. That night, Charlie visits a bar and stares silently at the old jukebox for a long time, as if a much bigger plan is already taking shape in his mind. The next morning, he confronts his superiors once more, this time arriving with printouts of the classified files. He exposes several of Moore's secret and highly controversial operations, including an attack on a hospital in Syria and another strike on an Allied military base in Yemen. Those missions had claimed thousands of innocent lives. Charlie makes it clear that if his demands aren't met, he'll personally deliver the whole truth to the CIA director. He also reveals he's activated a dead man's switch, meaning that if he fails to enter a specific code every 5 hours, all the evidence gets automatically sent to major news networks around the world. In exchange for his silence, Charlie lists his demands: full CIA field training, forged passports, cash, a weapon, and most importantly, every piece of intelligence tied to Sarah's killers. After the meeting ends, Charlie gets into his car, but the stress and pressure become too much, and he suddenly throws up inside the vehicle. Back at the office, Moore believes Charlie is only bluffing, but Caleb isn't willing to take that chance. He points out that even if it is a bluff, they'll eventually locate the dead man's switch, and once they have it under control, Charlie could conveniently suffer a fatal accident during his own training. Sometime later, Caleb and his team start investigating how Charlie managed to copy the classified files. During their search, they become suspicious of the skimmer device. It could never have worked on the secure computer system itself, but using it on the printer was entirely possible. They conclude that Charlie sent the files to the printer and copied the data using a magnetic stripe. Reviewing the security footage, they confirm Charlie had bought a magnetic stripe from a store. Even so, one mystery remains: how he managed to smuggle it in and out of the building undetected. The team also searches Charlie's house. There, they learn he'd recently visited a particular bar twice. They head there immediately and during their inspection, discover a device hidden beneath the jukebox. When Caleb inserts the same disc into the jukebox, all it plays back is a strange burst of static. That convinces them Charlie hid something important inside it, so they take it away for further examination. Meanwhile, Charlie arrives at a secret CIA training facility where Colonel Henderson greets him. Their first stop is the shooting range, and a major weakness becomes obvious right away. Charlie is an extremely poor marksman. To hit the target accurately, he has to stand far closer than anyone else would need to. However, when it comes to building explosives, Charlie finally shows his true talent. He assembles a powerful device with incredible speed and precision, leaving even Henderson impressed. After that, Charlie is ordered to memorize his new identity. Henderson deliberately pushes him, shoves him around, and keeps him under intense pressure to test whether he can recall every detail of his cover story without a single slip. Finally, Charlie receives his new forged passports. Step by step, he's no longer just an ordinary analyst, but someone transforming into an agent preparing for an extremely dangerous mission. That night, Colonel Henderson comes to Charlie's room and tries to convince him he isn't a killer, but Charlie insists he isn't seeking revenge. He only wants justice for Sarah. Henderson then pulls out his pistol, places it in Charlie's hand, and tells him that if he truly believes he can kill someone, he should aim it straight at his own chest. Charlie grips the gun, but his hands start shaking uncontrollably. In the end, he can't bring himself to pull the trigger and slowly lowers the weapon. In that moment, it becomes clear that taking a life isn't something he can easily do. Meanwhile, back at CIA headquarters, agents spend hours trying to decode the information hidden inside the disk. Eventually, they discover the truth, that Charlie's so-called dead man switch was nothing more than a bluff. The moment they learn this, they report it to their superiors, unaware that Charlie is listening to every single word. The tiny chip he hid inside his ID badge was never a data device. It was actually a covert listening bug. He had secretly planted it inside the very files he handed to his superiors. That's exactly how he'd been monitoring all their conversations. The instant the truth comes out, Moore immediately calls Henderson and orders him to arrest Charlie without delay. But by then, it's already too late. Charlie has vanished from the facility. After ending the call, Moore finally notices the hidden bug attached to the files. He contacts Charlie directly and warns him that everything he's done now counts as treason. But Charlie has no intention of turning back. He throws away his earpiece and boards a plane. After arriving in London, he clears customs and immediately continues on toward Paris. The moment his forged passport pings the CIA system, Moore sends Henderson after him. Meanwhile, once Charlie reaches Paris, he checks into a hotel near the restaurant where Gretchen is frequently seen. Sometime later, Gretchen arrives and Charlie quietly gets close enough to start tracking her phone. He then spends the entire day watching her apartment from outside, patiently waiting for the right opportunity. The moment Gretchen leaves, one of the building's residents walks out. Charlie takes advantage of the moment and slips inside unnoticed. After watching a quick tutorial, he successfully picks the lock to Gretchen's apartment. Once inside, he carefully searches the entire place. He uncovers details about her daily routine, along with several valuable pieces of information, photographing everything he finds. Inside one of the drawers, he also finds a pistol and quietly keeps it. Just then, his tracker warns him that Gretchen is on her way back. Charlie immediately hides in the stairwell and waits for her to arrive. The opportunity couldn't be more perfect. The moment Gretchen reaches her apartment, Charlie has the perfect chance to kill her. But when the decisive moment comes, he simply can't pull the trigger. His finger freezes and his conscience won't let him do it. Disappointed in himself, he runs off and returns to his hotel. Back in his room, he imagines Sarah still waiting there for him. After calming down, he carefully studies the photographs he took inside Gretchen's apartment. That's when he notices she frequently visits a hospital. Charlie immediately hacks into her medical records and uncovers an extremely important secret. Gretchen suffers from a severe allergy. For the first time, Charlie realizes he may be able to reach his enemies without ever firing a single bullet. The next morning, Charlie buys a large bundle of flowers. After that, he sits quietly in a nearby cafe and waits. The moment he spots Gretchen, he silently follows her all the way to the hospital. Inside, Gretchen is undergoing several medical tests. Suddenly, the doctor notices the machine's computer is malfunctioning, so he steps out of the room to call for assistance. Charlie immediately seizes the opportunity, disguises himself as a doctor, enters the room, and locks Gretchen inside the medical scanner. Gretchen panics and begins screaming for help, but Charlie ignores her desperate cries. He starts filling the machine with pollen. The doctor and nurses outside hear the noise as well, but since the door is locked from inside, they can't get in. Within moments, her severe allergy begins to take effect. Her breathing grows heavier and her body starts to weaken. Charlie tells her that if she reveals Ho's location, the man who shot Sarah, he'll save her life. But by then, the reaction has become so intense that Gretchen can barely speak. Finally, Charlie unlocks the machine. The instant she gets the chance, Gretchen attacks him, slamming him into a nearby table. A brutal hand-to-hand fight breaks out between them. They crash into furniture across the room as they struggle to overpower one another. Charlie pulls out his pistol, but Gretchen overpowers him again before opening the door and making her escape. Charlie chases after her until they reach the street. He's just about to fire when a speeding car suddenly crashes into Gretchen. She dies instantly before his eyes. The horrifying sight leaves Charlie completely shaken. Even so, he gathers himself, walks over to her body, and takes her phone. He quickly flees the scene and throws his doctor's lab coat into a trash bin along the way. Back at the hotel, he washes the blood off himself and hurriedly packs his belongings. That same night, he arrives at the bus station and buys a ticket to Marseille. Sometime later, news of Gretchen's death reaches the CIA. Director O'Brien questions Moore about what happened. Moore simply replies that it looks like Gretchen was eliminated by one of their own people. Meanwhile, Charlie is overwhelmed with guilt. That night, he walks into a bar and drinks heavily, trying to drown his pain. In his drunken state, he imagines Sarah dancing on the dance floor. But looking more carefully, he realizes it's only a woman who resembles her. At that very moment, he notices Henderson walking toward him. Charlie immediately panics, pushes through the crowd, and sprints out of the bar and through the streets. After running a considerable distance, he hides inside another bar, but Henderson tracks him there too. Seeing this, Charlie quickly locks himself inside the bathroom. Once inside, he realizes there's no window and no escape route at all. With no other option, he steps back out and sits down beside Henderson. During their conversation, Charlie learns that Henderson tracked Gretchen's phone to find him. A few moments later, Charlie shows Henderson a countdown timer running on his phone. Then he suddenly jumps up and runs outside. The very next second, the bomb hidden in the bathroom explodes with tremendous force. The blast throws the entire bar into chaos. Terrified people run in every direction to save themselves. Taking full advantage of the confusion, Charlie disappears again, and this time Henderson loses him completely. As if that weren't enough, the tracker connected to Charlie's phone stops working too. Once again, Charlie stays several steps ahead of everyone chasing him. The next morning, Charlie reaches out to Inquilin for help. After that, he boards a cargo plane and heads for Turkey. Once he arrives in Istanbul, he walks into a restaurant and sends Inquilin a message. A few moments later, he hears a man's phone ringing nearby. Charlie assumes this must be Inquilin and starts walking toward him. But before he can reach the man, a woman steps in front of him and quietly tells him to check his phone first. As Charlie walks outside, the same woman approaches again and reveals that she is the real Inquilin. She already knows about Sarah's death and everything that's happened to Charlie. To avoid surveillance, she tells him to hide his cap and bag inside a shopping bag so no one pays them any attention. She then has Charlie wander through the crowded market like an ordinary tourist before meeting her later at a nearby garage. At the appointed time, they meet again, and she drives Charlie to her home. On the way, she tells him her story. She explains that after her husband's death 6 years earlier, she began learning advanced hacking skills. Her husband had been a secret source for the CIA while also maintaining ties with Russian intelligence. In fact, he was the original Inquilin and the one who taught her everything she knows. Official records say her husband died falling from a window, but the way she tells it, the truth is clearly far more complicated. Once they reach her house, she explains it's the first place she's managed to stay hidden for more than 3 years. She admits she's grown exhausted after so many years constantly on the run. She even reveals that if Russian agents ever come for her, she already has one final escape plan of her own. The conversation then turns to finding Sarah's killers. They discover that Ho is the key figure who recruits mercenaries for more. Meanwhile, Lawrence is a major international arms dealer. Inquilin immediately comes up with a plan, posing as an illegal weapons supplier to get close to him. That leaves only Mishka. Mishka constantly travels from country to country and shares nearly every move of his life on social media. Charlie and Inquilin carefully study his photos. That's when they notice the same woman appearing beside him again and again. Using facial recognition, they successfully identify her. Their investigation leads to her Instagram account, where they discover she's currently in Spain. At last, they found a new path leading directly to Mishka. Back at the CIA, Caleb orders his team to keep every terrorist under constant surveillance. He's convinced Charlie will eventually try to make contact with one of them. Around the same time, Director O'Brien meets with Moore. She firmly warns him that from now on, he isn't to run any secret Black Ops missions without her approval. Moore remains completely unfazed. Calmly, he tells her the previous director said the exact same thing. Then he gives her the same answer he gave back then, that if she stays out of his operations, she'll continue to have his full support. After the meeting, O'Brien gets into her car. At that moment, her assistant shows her a photo revealing Henderson's presence in Spain. The investigation confirms Moore personally sent him there. Realizing Moore is openly defying her orders, O'Brien immediately sends one of her most trusted agents to follow Henderson. The game is no longer just about Charlie. An invisible power struggle has now begun inside the CIA itself. Meanwhile, Charlie and Inquilin hack into the hotel's security cameras and successfully track down Mishka's location. With that information, Charlie travels to Madrid and checks into the same hotel where Mishka is staying. He soon discovers Mishka is passionate about swimming. The hotel has a unique pool suspended between the rooftops of 2 towers, and Mishka frequently comes there for a swim. Meanwhile, Henderson has also followed Charlie to the same area, though Charlie has no idea he's already being watched. The next day, Charlie sets his plan into motion. He builds a special device designed to trap Mishka and secretly hides it inside the hotel. After that, he follows Mishka to the hotel bar. What Charlie doesn't realize is that Henderson is already in the lobby, watching him closely. Inside the bar, Charlie notices a suspicious man. He suddenly realizes he's seen this man somewhere before. That moment, it dawns on him that someone is following him. He immediately alerts Inquilin through his earpiece. Inquilin scans the man's face and confirms he's a CIA agent. A short while later, Henderson also appears on the security cameras. She instantly tells Charlie to abort the mission, but Charlie refuses to back down now. When Mishka arrives at the pool, Charlie steps directly in front of him. He demands to know where Ho can be found. Charlie warns that if he refuses to answer, the entire pool will be destroyed. Mishka simply laughs in his face, convinced Charlie is only trying to scare him. Without a hint of concern, he starts swimming away. At that very moment, Charlie presses a button. Suddenly, the massive glass structure beneath the pool begins to crack. With a thunderous explosion, the glass shatters completely. Thousands of gallons of water crash down onto the street below. At the same time, Inquilin warns Charlie that Henderson and another CIA agent are rapidly closing in on his position. Using the security cameras, she guides him toward the safest escape route. Moments later, an intense chase erupts through the hotel. Henderson is just about to catch Charlie when another agent suddenly intercepts him. The agent tackles Henderson, and the two crash into a nearby laundry room. A brutal fight immediately breaks out between them. Charlie watches everything unfold from a distance. They repeatedly slam each other into heavy machines and concrete walls. At one point, Henderson even forces the other agent's head inside a washing machine. The fight turns even more dangerous when the agent pulls out his pistol and shoots Henderson. Despite being wounded, Henderson manages to seize the weapon and fires back, killing the agent. A short while later, Charlie enters the room. For a moment, he wonders whether he should help Henderson, but Inquilin quickly reminds him his mission is far from over. With no other choice, Charlie walks away. The following day, back at the CIA, Director O'Brien summons Moore to her office and questions him about Charlie. Moore lies without hesitation, claiming Charlie is on bereavement leave following his wife's death. O'Brien lets him leave, but the moment he's gone, she pulls up an important piece of hotel surveillance footage. It's clear she doesn't believe a single word Moore said. At the same time, Caleb and his team are analyzing the same footage. After carefully reviewing it, they realize Charlie isn't working alone. Someone is clearly helping him behind the scenes. They immediately begin tracing Charlie's encrypted communications. After a lengthy investigation, they finally recover his conversations with Inquilin. Then comes a major revelation. Digging through old intelligence files, they find records of the original agent once known as Inquilin. Their investigation leads them to one final conclusion. After that agent's death, his wife inherited both his identity and his entire intelligence network. For the first time, the CIA realizes Charlie isn't being backed by an ordinary hacker, but by one of the most skilled and dangerous intelligence operatives they've ever encountered. That night, Charlie and Inquilin sleep in the same room, resting side by side. There's no romance between them, but after constantly running for their lives, they simply find comfort in having someone they trust close by. Their sleep is suddenly interrupted by the loud cries of Inquilin's pet bird. Checking the security camera feeds, they're stunned to find multiple agents have already surrounded the house from every direction. Without wasting a second, they escape through a hidden tunnel concealed behind one of the walls. As they emerge outside, Charlie spots a surveillance drone overhead, making it clear their location has been completely exposed. They quietly slip into a neighboring building, avoid the pursuing agents, and disappear from the area just moments before the house is raided. Meanwhile, Inquilin's computer automatically begins wiping every file, leaving the agents with nothing. After a long run along the coastline, they finally reach Inquilin's car, but the drone quickly spots them. Within moments, armed agents begin chasing them while opening fire. They even pursue them using boats along the shoreline. During the long and dangerous chase, the agents badly damage their vehicle. Worse still, Inquilin is critically wounded, and her condition rapidly becomes life-threatening. Charlie has no other choice. With a heavy heart, he carefully lays Inquilin across the passenger seat and takes the wheel himself. He keeps driving until he finally manages to lose everyone chasing them. Sometime later, he pulls into a garage. There, he says a final goodbye to Inquilin. The woman who first appeared as nothing more than a mysterious hacker had become one of the most trusted allies he's ever known. The next day, Charlie makes his next move. He contacts Lawrence, poses as an international arms dealer, and successfully arranges a meeting. He then purchases several electronic devices before traveling to Romania. Inside an abandoned building, he creates a fake video of himself and hacks into a security network in Berlin. The CIA is completely fooled into believing Charlie is in Berlin, so they send their entire team there. When Lawrence arrives at the meeting point, he finds nothing but a ringing phone resting on a chair. Charlie tells him over the phone to open a nearby box. The moment Lawrence lifts the lid, he discovers it's packed with explosives. Charlie warns him that one wrong move will blow everything apart. After seeing Sarah's photograph inside the box, Lawrence immediately understands what this is all about. At that moment, Charlie quietly steps out behind him and demands to know Ho's location. In return, he promises to deactivate the bomb. Lawrence reveals that Ho usually operates in Russian waters and receives supplies through a port on the Baltic Sea. When Charlie asks how to contact him, Lawrence explains that Ho only responds to encrypted messages containing a secret code. The necessary numbers and contact details are stored on his phone. Lawrence throws the phone onto the ground. Charlie picks it up and walks away. Only moments later, a massive explosion erupts behind him. Lawrence is killed by the blast. Soon afterward, news of Lawrence's death in Romania reaches the CIA. That's when they realize the video that sent them searching in Berlin had been completely fake. Charlie then arrives at a hotel in Russia. Sitting alone, he loses himself in memories of Sarah and finally opens the gift she'd brought for him. Inside, he finds a small puzzle. Charlie quickly solves it and discovers a beautiful hidden message from his wife. The heartfelt moment deeply moves him and gives him the strength to keep going. The following morning, he heads to the harbor and begins watching a suspicious vehicle. He sends the secret code used by Ho's network. A short while later, he notices a man standing beside the vehicle checking his phone. Charlie quietly follows him and secretly photographs his boat. After buying a few essential pieces of equipment, he returns to his hotel. Using the boat's registration number, he traces it to a luxurious yacht. He also carefully studies the sea routes Ho is most likely to use. The next morning, Charlie approaches the boat, but someone suddenly attacks him from behind. He collapses unconscious and Sarah's puzzle slips from his hand. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself aboard the very same yacht. At last, he comes face to face with Ho. Ho already knows about the bomb Charlie used earlier. According to him, Charlie has never killed anyone directly. He's only created situations that led to their deaths. That's why Ho believes Charlie could never shoot someone standing right in front of him. To prove his point, Ho places a gun in Charlie's hand and tells him to pull the trigger. But Charlie does exactly what his heart has always told him to do. He lowers the weapon without firing. Suddenly, the yacht begins changing course. The entire crew panics in confusion. Charlie smiles and calmly reveals he's taken complete control of the yacht. The vessel is protected by CIA security systems, and Charlie himself helped design those very protocols. Hacking the system is no challenge for him. He secretly redirects the yacht toward Finland instead. Before long, the Finnish Navy and international authorities surround the vessel. Ho and every one of his men are arrested on the spot. At last, Sarah's killers are brought to justice. Sometime later, Director O'Brien holds a press conference and announces that every corrupt CIA operative who abused the agency's resources has been arrested. The reign of people like Moore has finally come to an end. Later, Henderson meets Charlie and tells him he's proud of him. Even while pursuing justice, Charlie never allowed himself to become a murderer. At the end of the film, Charlie visits Sarah's grave one final time and quietly remembers her. After that, he returns home and takes to the skies in the small airplane Sarah gave him for his birthday. For the first time, peace can be seen on his face. He's finally found justice for his wife and the strength to move forward with his life. So, what did you think about this movie? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories. See you in the next video.